Hey guys, welcome to a very special Smash Bros. Ultimate discussion, because Ash and I actually had the chance to play the game about a week ago in New York, and not just any version of the game, but a near final build, including Adventure Mode, Spirits Board, Classic Mode, and pretty much everything else about this game. So there is a lot to talk about, so much in fact that we had to bring a couple of other guests on board to go over it all, which includes Steve Bowling from Nintendo Life and Neal Ronahan from Nintendo World Report. So how's it going, guys? Are you ready to discuss Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Of course!
I'm always ready to talk Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah, always ready to talk about how bad I am at this game.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about how Nairo schooled me during this event.
Actually, that's all I want to talk about now. Alright, so there is a lot to talk about here, so we're going to start things off, I think, with World of Light, which I think is something that, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you guys, but when I saw that in Nintendo Direct, and I think partially because it was tied into the whole spirits thing, I was very confused about how this worked. I understood almost nothing about it. I knew it looked cool, but after going hands-on with it, I actually have a much better understanding of how this actually works. And it's not nearly as complicated as they made it look in the Nintendo Direct. So what I'm curious about from you guys is, did you feel the same way?
In all caps, yes. Yes, I do. I was kind of baffled by it. And then I played it at this event and immediately fell in love, and I want to play a lot of World of Light and the Spirits Board mode as well. Just all those event matches are super neat and novel.
Yeah, they really did make it seem way more complex than it is. It reminded me very much of the Luigi's Mansion reveal for Nintendo Land at E3, where they spent like 10 minutes explaining how a very simple game works. So let me go ahead and try my hand at explaining how this works in very simple terms. Basically, let's see how I do. So basically, World of Light is just a series of event matches from past Smash Bros. Games, strung together on a world map in which you go point to point, in which you engage in spirit battles. Basically, you're taking on a puppet version of a character possessed by a spirit. And what these spirits do is they imbue these characters with special abilities, usually ones that reflect the character itself, or the spirit itself rather. And once you win the match, you'll unlock that spirit so you can equip it yourself. Now, there are other matches in which you take on captive fighters, which are the actual characters themselves. And once you finish those matches, then you unlock that particular fighter. So you start off as Kirby, and you'll unlock more characters as you go through the adventure mode, and you'll add them to your party, and you can switch between them freely as you want to take on other spirit battles, and that's basically how it goes. And I really ended up enjoying this mode. It reminded me a little bit of Subspace, just in terms of the grandiose nature of it all. But World of Light feels a lot more thought out to me, a lot better thought out to me, particularly with how the spirits tie into each match, where the spirits that possess each character influences how the actual match goes, and it's based on that character. Such as one where you take on Rob, who's possessed by the Guardian Spirit, and that spirit means that Rob basically only performs his neutral special, which is the Laser Blast. So with this challenge also taking place on the Great Plateau stage, it really feels like you're dodging Laser Blast from a Guardian, just in Rob form. It's really clever how they use these spirits to really expand the amount of characters that it feels like are in this game, which is already a huge amount. What did you guys end up thinking about Adventure Mode based on your playtime with it?
I think it's really smartly laid out. Like, they start you off on a straight path with it, and that's usually, like, those, I don't know, I want to say 5 or 6 matches, you unlock Mario in that time. And over the course of that, you you get a handle on how to use spirits in matches. And that's really kind of core and key. And at first, that was really impenetrable for me. But by the time I got to the end of that area where you fought against Mario, I had a handle on it. And that was probably 10, 15 minutes of playtime, if that. And from there on out, like, I was bouncing between, like, different spirits to there's the rock, paper, scissors elements of the different attacks or the different primary spirits you can attach to your fighter, and that helps for different battles. And then seeing, like you said, Andre, the creativity of all these different spirits matches, like, just the way they make use of the stages and characters and items is really, really cool. Like, 2 that stood out to me, I'll use 2 Capcom references. I had one where the unlockable spirit was for Tronbon, and you fought Wendy Koopa with a bunch of tiny Robs, as if you were going after Tronbon and Servbots. Another one was Jury from Street Fighter. It was Bayonetta, and the stage was actually New Pork City, but it was a Battlefield variation. So it kind of looked like the background of New Pork City was like a Street Fighter City stage, as opposed to, the Mother 3 reference that it was. And it's just those creative uses of the tools that they have to kind of like create games within games here is just it's a really good way for Smash Brothers to handle a single player mode, because it's not relying on crappy platforming like in Subspace Emissary. It's not relying on whatever the hell Smash Tour was trying to be and failing at. It's making use of two core elements of Smash Brothers, which are the fighting, because every match is a combative match, and also the video game history, which is undercurrent through every pore of this game. And having all these event matches, having all these spirits, having all these different characters are just a way to show that history through all these fights.
Yeah, there's an element that you really don't know who or what you're going to run into next, and that's very exciting. And to kind of piggyback off your Mega Man example, I had another example of a Mega Man spirit, where you fight where you fight a Metor, or a Met, or a Metall, whatever you want to call them, and it's Pac-Man possessed by a Met, which makes sense because Mets are yellow, and Pac-Man's yellow, and then Pac-Man shields often, and it's on the Wrecking Crew stage, so it's supposed to call to mind Gutsman stage from the original Mega Man, and of course he shields often because that's what Mets are known for. So it really is creative. It's just there's so much creativity on display in terms of how they really fit all these different characters in here with the base roster of 74 characters. It's really cool, and like I said, there's just an element that you really don't know what you're going to run into next, and that's exciting. And I'll say that the other thing that really struck me when I first started out in adventure mode was just how huge the world map is. Like, yes, they show that in the direct, and you get a sense of that in the direct, but when you're playing it, it feels a bit different, and it's like, wow, this is a huge map, and I can't wait to explore every last corner.
Yeah, we basically played for a half an hour. We played until you unlocked 3 fighters, and looking at the world map after that, I'm like, oh, like there's still another 70 fighters that I need to go find, and I've explored seemingly 10% of this map.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, half an hour, or in our video, was 40 minutes, and we unlocked 4 characters total in that time. So it seems like there's going to be a very expansive mode.
One thing I want to highlight is that Neal and Ash, while they gave great examples, they're hardly unique in that every time that I ran into a spirit paired with a character, it was always a pairing that, if you thought about it a little bit, made sense. There was never one that just seemed slapdash, like they just threw a spirit and a character together. They were always something that made sense within, staying within the boundaries of a franchise or a character reference. So really, it's, some of them take more thought than others, but yeah, it's clear that they took such care in putting together every single one of these challenges on this map. And I'm just so excited to actually go through it and to kind of echo what Neal was saying about, getting through, because we all kind of had the same limitations of how many characters we could unlock. Yeah, when you zoom out on that map after doing 30 minutes of play, you realize that this could take tens of hours to get through.
Yeah.
And it's a single player mode in a multiplayer game. It honestly is just kind of a value add for the main attraction, and they still put this much care and effort into it, and it's just incredibly impressive, and beyond that, it's just a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, you kind of hit on something there, like with it, with you almost having to think a little bit about how these matches break down, and it's kind of fun to do that. It doesn't take that much thinking, but it's fun to break down how exactly these spirits are, or how these battles, or how these spirits are reflected in the battle itself. I have another example here, where you take on Sonic, who's possessed by the Metal Sonic spirit, which will turn Sonic occasionally metallic in the match, while he also has a jetpack. And this is, of course, on the Green Hill stage. So, and another one, probably one of the weaker examples is Dr. Krieger, but I like this because he possesses Dr. Mario, and he plays on the WarioWare stage. So again, like every example here, you can tease out like what exactly they were going for, and I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm curious, the way that we played the demo, so you start as Kirby, you unlock Mario, and then you have an option of 3 different directions. It's Marth, Sheik, and Villager. I took the Villager route, which kind of took me to an F-Zero Mario Kart inspired area that then ended with a fight against Captain Falcon. There were also a lot of cool, like there was a Star Fox spirit there. There was some more Captain Falcon and F-Zero references throughout those events. What directions did you guys pick?
We picked the Sheik route. So we unlock Sheik, which eventually ends in you unlocking me Swordfighter. Ironically, the last character I unlocked before having to stop was me Swordfighter, which is probably the least hype character you could unlock in World of Light.
Yeah, that was like Captain Falcon kind of built to something nice. You get to meet Swordfighter, and you're like, you know what? I am done with the demo now.
Exactly. So yeah, just know that if you pick Sheik, you're going to be locked on that path, and you're going to be going straight to me Swordfighter eventually. But yeah, I actually do like that element where you have to pick one of those three paths, and then Master Hand blocks off the other two, meaning you're locked into that path, for better or worse. In my case, worse, since it was me Swordfighter, and it's. I assume that they'll unlock the other paths, and you have to kind of get to them in a roundabout way. But I do like that they kind of funnel you onto that path once you've picked it.
Mm-hmm. So I do feel like with those alternate paths, how they do close off after you pick one, there's part of me that feels like maybe the critical path of this mode only has you unlocking like 30 fighters or something, and then you're encouraged to replay it to go the different routes or something like that. I mean, that's complete speculation on my part, but it's like I just feel like having it mandatory to get all 70 plus fighters in one run to complete World of Light, like that's what, like a 20-30 hour experience minimum. And you'd think that maybe they'd want this mode to be like a 10-hour mode or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I wonder if there'll be maybe even multiple endings, depending on how many characters you unlock.
Yeah.
I'm not fully sure what to expect from it, but as an example, something we didn't see ourselves even, is I believe the direct show that there are boss fights in this mode. I mean, presumably there would have to be, especially with the final boss, and we didn't see any of those in our playtime.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that's going to work as well, how often will you be encountering these boss encounters in the game?
I was also kind of wonder, speaking of the bosses, and especially the final boss, we were, talking about different endings and such, I wonder if the difference is that Galeem is harder if you have fewer characters.
Ooh.
So I wonder if it's kind of like a Breath of the Wild type thing, where the more you do, the easier the final confrontation will be, but you can, feasibly choose to go fight Galeem before you have every character unlocked.
What if they? We're getting speculation territory, just to be clear. But what if? What if it was kind of like a Smash Tour, where you're building up a roster of fighters to take on the final boss with? So you can go through your entire roster of 72 characters to take on the final boss.
Yeah. Boy, that me Swordfighter would really sting then.
So I guess real quick to tie back into World of Light, something else I really appreciated about this mode, even in my small playtime with it, was a sense of progression. Not just on the world map, which also felt good just to unlock this world and see more of it, but also with just how you get stronger as a character, because you not only level up after each match, or your spirits do, because you equip a primary spirit and you can level them up, then you also equip I forget what they were called. Support spirits, I believe.
Secondary spirits.
Which give you different abilities, like the Mouser spirit will let you start a match with a bomb, for instance. And you unlock more and more of these as you go through the campaign, of course. And that element reminded me a little bit of Paper Mario, both for the RPG elements with your, actually powering up, but also the spirits are basically badges, with each one giving you different abilities. And I love the badge system for Paper Mario. So incorporating that into Smash Brothers, especially in the manner that they have, with it representing all these characters, well beyond Smash even, is something I love. So it really feels like you're making good progress. And not to even mention the fact with the whole skill tree they have, where you can gradually power up each of your moves, like your tilts, for instance, or your smash attacks. So yeah, I'm really excited to play more of this and really power up my spirits team. And that's another element I like, with how you can save these teams of spirits you make, these basically different loadouts, and swap between them freely.
And actually, that's a good point. And to piggyback off of that, you're going to need and want to do that, because something I encountered, I don't know about you guys, but something I encountered was that when the game warns you, hey, the spirits you're taking into this fight are at you're at a type disadvantage against the spirit you're about to go fight, do you want to change your spirits? That's a serious warning, because oftentimes when I went into a spirit battle with spirits that mine were at a type disadvantage, it was really hard. Like it actually put up a real fight, and I'm like, okay, so you can't just ignore those team power numbers, and you can't really ignore the quote unquote spirit weapon triangle. You really do have to pay attention to it. At least in my experience, you did. Although I also do like that they also have an auto pick option. So if you don't want to go into all the menus and go through all your spirits and painstakingly put together your team, you can just press Y to do auto pick, and the game will put together a team for you based on what you're going to go fight. So I do like that, but you really do have to pay attention to that stuff.
Oh yeah, I could not agree more. So this wasn't in World of Light that I experienced issues with spirits, but I was playing Spirit Board toward the end of the event, and I did get a similar warning saying that the loadout I had just was no good. And like somebody truly cocky, I decided to ignore it and hop into a match. And I mean, I was one-shotted. I was dead in one hit. Donkey Kong hit me with a single punch, and I was out. And I believe I have it on video.
Nice.
But yeah, it's no joke. If you go in and it's telling you that you need to change your loadout, you need to heed that warning.
And that's an element, getting back to the enjoyment level of it. Like, I love that element. It's just where you can experiment with all these different spirits and how they all do feel very different. Like, I have a few examples here just to give people a better idea of how these work. So, like, if you equip an Excite Bike spirit, it'll increase your horizontal movement speed as if you're on a motorcycle. If you equip Parry, which is the umbrella from Super Princess Peach, it'll slow your fall speed. Whereas if you equip Batile, being the snake from Donkey Kong Country 2, it'll increase your jump height. So it's fun to play around with them to see what works for you, and also again how they reflect the actual characters that they represent.
I did like seeing the Ever Oasis love in the spirits, because considering that I feel like the amount of Ever Oasis spirits in the game might be how many people played Ever Oasis. So like 5 maybe. Yeah, I mean, Ray Bryce from Disaster Day of Crisis, that Monolith game that weirdly, bizarrely predated Xenoblade and couldn't be more different than Xenoblade. Seeing that was a nice nod.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say that you were super excited when you saw that. Like, you're down playing it right now.
I was so excited about that.
Like, I was watching Ash play Adventure World of Light, and you came up to me, you're like, dude, you gotta check out the spirit that's in this game. I'm like, really? That's there? Awesome.
Mock Rider was there, not a playable character, but a spirit.
Aww.
That's fitting.
And, oh god, there was and the Mother 3 love, which I think was in the game previously, but it was cool seeing specifically events designed around that too. Like one that I think we have on video and was in the Spirit Board mode and not World of Light was Salsa the Monkey from Mother 3, and that was another one where it's you're fighting Diddy Kong and Wario, who's basically representing Facade from the game, and Salsa and Facade were kind of an adversarial pair in that game, and that was just like a cool little touch, and it made me smile. And that's I could probably spend the next hour talking about all the individual spirits, going through a list, and how like I'm excited to see how I can use them and the teams I can make with all these different characters. But it really was just a source of joy playing this game, of seeing the games, seeing the occasional spirit where I'm like, who's that? And then I Google and I'm like, I didn't know this game existed. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, it brings up the point that happened after the Direct with like all the confusion that it caused, and a lot of people were equating the spirits to stickers on Smash Bros. Brawl. And I saw the comparison initially, but after going hands-on with the game, like, they could be anything but. Stickers were worthless. They were pointless. They added nothing but a small little collectible in a sticker book you'll never look at again. Where spirits actually have value behind them. Like, I know a lot of people are begrudging the loss of trophies as well, and I understand that, but I really love how they incorporated spirits here, with how much care and thought went into them, even though they are, like, simple, on the face of it, like a simple PNG, there's so much more to them, and I love the thought that went into how they affect the gameplay.
The spirits just, they have more inherent value to them. There are also many more of them than I think there were stickers, probably.
Real quick, JC did tell me, he wouldn't give me an exact amount, but every time I would throw a number out there, like over 1,000 for instance, he would just reiterate there are lots and lots and lots of spirits. So, so I have a feeling this could be well over 1,000 here. But
right, it kind of feels like Sakurai extended the whole everyone is here thing to all of video games when it comes to these spirits.
Yeah, except for Square Enix.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it'd probably take them 10 years to give permission for a single sticker. I would argue, too, that, and I do miss trophies. I loved collecting them in previous iterations, but I would argue that they're even more valuable than trophies since they have a tangible impact on gameplay. Whereas trophies are cool to look at, and the flavor text reading about, the history of those characters was cool, but you can actually change up your whole game with these.
That's exactly why I like these. These are actually meaningful, unlockable in Smash Brothers, which have been in short supply in other games. Where these actually do impact the gameplay, unlike, say, as you mentioned, trophies or stickers, or even, in a sense, custom moves. Because even though those did affect gameplay, I never felt compelled to use them. So whereas spirits, I actually do want to use them. Like, I want to build up this giant library of all these spirits, both just to complete them, but also to play with them and see what all they can do, particularly given the fact that you can have spirit battles in this game. You can take on friends using your team of spirits and see how they compare to whatever your friend decided to equip. And I can see that being so much more fun than the custom battles that were in Smash Bros. Wii U.
Absolutely. It seems like it'll add like a fun sense of chaos to, more casual party modes. Mm-hmm. And Nintendo was trying to sell it at the event as something where you could use these spirits to make custom game modes, and it doesn't feel like that's just talk. It feels like that's definitely a real possibility.
Yeah, there's just a lot of depth with the spirits in general, and I think it's something that's going to be fun to see people kind of mine and come up with weird things to do with that. Like, I already love like the ridiculous items that show up in Smash Brothers, and like how you can mess with the gravity and how much things hit. That's cool on its face. And now we add another wrinkle to that, and I just think the potential for something really awesome with all of this is there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential, evidently, that it couldn't be constrained to just World of Light, because there's a whole other Spirits mode being Spirits Board, in which you're basically just taking on a series of Spirits battles from the Adventure mode. Only without the world map, and, all the story, any story elements and all that. This is just the pure Spirits battle gameplay at their core, which again are kind of like event mode matches. So in Spirits Board, basically it presents you, I believe, with a grid of up to 10 matches at a time. You can choose whichever one you want to do, based on the spirit. And once you complete it, or if you fail at it, you get kicked out. That spirit will go away temporarily, and then there's a little countdown that appears in which a new one will appear, or maybe that one will come back. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's fun in that it's just like you just go from battle to battle to battle, whether you're winning or losing, with a series of new, with a new parameter, with a new series of parameters constantly. That just really keeps it engaging and fun. And my favorite personal one I came across was Captain K. Rool as King K. Rool, because I loved how they emulated the actual battle from Donkey Kong Country 2, in which this particular spirit gives King K. Rool a stronger neutral special, which I believe is his gun, which is his primary attack in DKC 2, but also it turns him invisible, like his final special battle in that game. So I love that, like how they tie in like all these different elements from the core games again. So what did you guys think of Spirits Board?
I think Steve and I talked about it at the event while literally looking at the Spirits battles being played, in that it's just a really nice digestible way to experience those event matches from World of Light, where you could just pick it up for a couple minutes and have a good time without the context of the story mode and going through the world map. And I don't know how much of that content's going to kind of overlap. Like, are you going to run into matches from World of Light in the Spirit Board mode? I don't know, and I don't even know how many match types are possible. But if you think that there could be one for every spirit, and the conservative estimate is like a seal or a floor of 400 spirits, that's a lot of different types of event matches that you could have. And yeah, like there's a lot of potential in this mode, and this is one that I could see myself just being like, you know what? I'll play a couple matches, and then like 2 hours later, I've been playing these matches for that entire time, because it just keeps on churning out new, fresh matches as time passes.
Right. I have to say that Spirit Board was actually my favorite thing I saw at this event. I have a strong feeling that a huge portion of my time spent playing Smash in handheld mode will be in Spirit Board, because it just feels like exactly the type of thing you want to play portably. These matches don't take long. You get a fresh batch of them. I believe it's every 5 minutes. And that's, in-game time. You don't have to just sit and watch the menu tick away. If you're in a match, then that 5 minutes is still ticking down in the background. And it's just a fun way to collect spirits, and it seems that there's so many of them that this mode could have some real longevity and replay value to it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I didn't personally get to play the spirit board mode. Every time I went over there was always too much of a line, and I was trying to get other stuff. But that's a great point about playing in handheld mode. This is exactly the kind of mode I'd want to play in handheld because, as you said, the matches are short, and there's that kind of pick up and play and put down mentality where you can just pick it up for literally 5 minutes, feel like you've accomplished something because you've gotten a couple of new spirits, and then put it down and come back to it later. And I do think that was a really smart inclusion for the, given what the Switch can do.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit for being on the go, which is funny because we didn't have an opportunity to test it on, in handheld form at all at the event. So,
right,
I'm not sure why they're hiding that functionality, but I'm sure it's for no major reason. Now, there is one other element to the Spirits board we haven't mentioned yet, and that's the fact that once you win a match, you would then have the opportunity to win the Spirit, because you don't get it automatically. And to win the Spirit, you have to time when you shoot a gun at the Spirit, which has an orbiting shield around it with a small gap in it. Now, if you miss, it creates another gap in the shield wherever you hit it at, and that will persist so you can re-challenge the Spirit. But that potentially means that winning that battle isn't enough to get the Spirit you want.
Well, that actually, for repeating matches, then there's a point to it. Because if you miss it the first time, then when, Drog from Fire Emblem shows up again, then you have another crack at getting that Spirit, even if you're replaying the same match.
I have a strong feeling that's going to end up being required for some of the rare spirits. Like some of the 3 and 4 star spirits, I feel like they're going to come with a complete shield, maybe with a super small opening that if you get really lucky, you'll hit it the first try. But I feel like the rare spirits are going to force you to attempt them multiple times to break down that shield so you can capture them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Ash, you are very close. I actually asked Nintendo for extra details on this because I was so interested in the mode. The rarer the spirit that you're after, the more rare, higher rarity, whatever, the faster their shield spins. So they still have gaps in their shield, but it is imperceptibly fast. When I took down a legendary spirit and I got my chance to take a shot at their shield, I literally could not see the gap in it because it was moving that fast. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do that. You can actually purchase in-game items that will slow their shield rotation so that you can then see the gap and hopefully hit it. And the other option is, of course, to continue to try, and each time you hit the shield, it removes a piece, and the game remembers that, so you'll actually face it with a significantly reduced shield depending on the number of times you've missed.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I like all these little different quirks they've added to each mode, or different facets they've added that I would have never thought of before. It just makes the whole process a little bit more fun and engaging. And I'm reminded of the terrible trophy rush mode from Smash Brothers Wii U.
Oh, man.
Just breaking box after box. And thankfully,
I've forgotten about that.
I'm sorry, man. I shouldn't have brought it up. But my point is, I've seen nothing Ultimate yet that reminded me of that. So that's a very good thing.
It's probably there. Like, they're probably just like, yeah, we didn't even change it. You get trophies, you can't see them.
That'd be amazing. Wow. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the third major mode we got to try out, being Classic Mode. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to play it myself, so you guys can perhaps speak to it more than I can. But to my understanding is that you take on a series of 6 matches as any character you choose, followed by a bonus round, which is basically a side-scrolling platforming stage almost, where you're grabbing collectibles, and then you take on a boss. Now, that boss, as well as a series of battles to take on, is dependent on which character you choose, because each character has what they call a route. Mario's is called Let's Go, and Wolf's is Reunited Roster, and so basically each one has their own theme, really. And Wolf's is taking on other characters that were cut from either Smash Bros. Brawl, I believe, or Smash Bros. Wii U.
Yeah, you're facing, like, Ice Climbers,
Pichu,
Snake, Young Link. Even his boss is a character that was cut from Smash Bros. Wii U, because it's Gallium, who was a boss in the Subspace Emissary.
Good point.
I only realized, like, while looking at the footage that we have of that I'm like, wait a minute. So like that's pretty neat. But I guess the thing is that, like, Classic Mode isn't really that exciting, but I like the discovery and exploration of finding out what each character's hooks are. Once again, kind of in line with World of Light and Spirits board, just seeing like how how those event matches work with each character, like how what is this reference to this game that they're using these characters with. It's the same thing with classic mode, where like I kind of smiled when I realized that Wolf's hook was its characters that weren't in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. Duck Hunt just fights a bunch of animals, and his boss culminates in Rathalos from Monster Hunter. And that bonus mode, I think, it really seems like Race to the Finish as one of the older Smash Brothers bonus modes. And, like, it's kind of throwaway, but, like, it's nice that it's there. I like the little bit of variation. But Classic Mode is something that I look forward to messing around with, but it will probably be, like, a tertiary thing that I do in this game. Kind of a breather from World of Light and multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, Classic Mode was never the most interesting mode, even on the best of days in Smash, 64, Melee, Brawl. It's Classic Mode. You know what you're getting. It's classic.
Yeah.
However, I do really like that they've added, themed routes for every character, and I think that actually makes it a lot more interesting, and it's a lot more captivating. Is it as captivating as something like World of Light? No, definitely not. But it did make me want to keep back, and go for more than I did in previous Smash Brothers games. And I say this as somebody who has beaten Classic Mode in Smash Wii U with every character. So I've done the grinding in other Smash games in Classic Mode. Yeah, because I wanted to get every trophy. But no, this definitely makes me want to go through it more, though, just to see what each character's route is all about. As you were saying, Neal, trying to figure out the way their route is referencing the game they're from. So I really liked Wolf's, for example, the roster reunited. That was a great idea. And I think I heard, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think Mega Man's is called The Mystery of Dr. Mario, which is a play on Rockman 2's subtitle, which is The Mystery of Dr. Wily. Which is amazing, like stuff like that. Like it's so good. It's stuff like that you'll really appreciate if you're a super gaming enthusiast. Which, of course, a lot of people who are going to be buying Smash Brothers are. So I really do like what they've done to Classic Mode, and I can't wait to see, the other characters' themes. With that said, I didn't like that bonus stage at all. Like, I did it one time. I played Classic Mode twice at the event. Once with Wolf, where I did the bonus stage. It was the first time I'd seen it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, weird. All right. Second time I played with Duck Hunt, I just ran right through the bonus stage. I had no desire to actually do it, because it's the same stage with every character. So once you've seen it once, you've basically played it, and all you get is points. And at least from what I could tell, points don't really get you anything other than a high score, which I don't really care.
Right.
I think it helps unlock a loot.
Okay. Well, does it? Okay. Well, if that's the case, then
I don't know what those rewards will mean. Like, it's one of those things where it's like kind of hard to judge when you're playing a demo, because it's not like you get to like keep the spirits that you unlock. But it does, like, the more points that you get, I think the more goodies you unlock at the end of Classic. So
maybe it's worth
I guess
it then. Okay.
the carrot.
Yeah, I'd have to say I agree with Ash on the fact that Classic Mode is probably the least interesting thing in Ultimate. I played once through as Duck Hunt Dog. I agree completely that the bonus stage just kind of seems tacked on and unnecessary. It's not very fun. It's not very interesting. But I did, I think it was Ash saying that the themes brought an important level of variety to it that makes it really interesting. I want to go back, for instance, and play as Ryu. I want to play as Ken. I think, Andre, it was you that was saying that you had heard that Ryu's theme was just 1v1 battles for the entirety of Classic Mode.
That's what I'd heard, yeah.
Yeah, same here. And I think Ken is the same way, but they might be different battles. I don't know.
Yeah, and that would be great. And honestly, it's also a matter of, since we know there are several different bosses, I would like to see, what everyone's boss character is. Like Duck Hunt Dog fights, how do you say it, Rathalos? I'm not a big Monster Hunter guy. Rathalos, yeah. Which was an interesting fight, but I'd like to see who they've handpicked to be everyone's boss character.
From the Classic Mode, so we were allowed to see 5 characters, but it was Rob, Duck Hunt, Wolf, Mario, and Captain Falcon. So Duck Hunt fought Rathalos. Rob and Wolf both fought the mech Gallium from Subspace, and then Mario fights Giga Bowser. Who did Captain Falcon fight? Because I didn't see his Classic Mode.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then the mystery lives on.
To YouTube.
Well, yeah, for that one character, not to speak of the other 66 others, 67.
Yeah,
I can't do math right now. But yeah, that's such an odd restriction, isn't it? Like, why did Nintendo limit us to those 5 or 5 or 6?
Or I do wonder if maybe the 2 of the characters they picked, you fight Rathalos, and then one of the characters you fight Giga Bowser. I do wonder if that means that they picked them such that Captain Falcon just fights Gallium as well. I wonder if it's just because they didn't want to show off more than 2 bosses. Maybe that's why they picked those 5.
Yeah, you're probably hitting on something there. Something else we haven't mentioned yet is the fact that there is a difficulty select for this mode, similar to, I think, Smash Bros. Wii U and also Kid Icarus Uprising, if you've played that before, where you can adjust a slider from basically on a 1 to 10 point scale. I believe it starts at, or I believe you can only increase it up to 5 initially. And what's really cool about this, though, is it's represented on this really cool custom banner they made just for the game, and you can only see up to around the 5.0 mark initially. Although the battle or the difficulty will increase if you do well during it, meaning you can unlock more and more of that banner the more and better you play, which is really neat. But that banner is freaking awesome.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Why is that not the official art for the game?
Right?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It bothered me. Like, I cranked it all the way up to 5, and I got to about 8.7, and the first thing I said to the guy doing the demo is, why the hell is this not on the box? Mm-hmm. It's so good.
It's really good. I'm right there with you.
That's how they're going to sell me the strategy guide. They're going to put that on there.
That's totally
I don't buy guides.
It'll be Game of the Year edition of Smash Brothers. We'll have that art.
There you go.
Yeah. The Sakurai has retired edition of Smash Brothers. You don't deserve this.
I'd be all over that. All right, so I think we've covered the single-player modes pretty well so far, being World of Light, Spirits Board, and Classic mode. But what we haven't talked too much about is the core gameplay itself, because we also did a ton of smashing. We did a ton of just standard Smash Brothers matches, and we should probably talk about that a little bit too. So let's go and start off with, what do you guys think about the general feel of the game?
I'd say I'm probably the worst player in this chat, so I feel like I have a unique perspective.
Perfect.
And it feels, and I've been saying this since E3, Ultimate feels so much more accessible to people that aren't that great at the game. People that don't understand character frame data or that don't study, how exactly what the distance in pixels of Link's up B is, that kind of thing. But it feels so much like the defensive options cater more to that casual set now. In the hands of a pro, I'm sure that they can do far, far more with it, but I feel like they've moved that, they've made it to where it's easier for people that aren't deeply entrenched in Smash to still be competent. My example is I've never been able to defend against the Dragoon. Once somebody has me in their sights, that is it. I'm done. The very first time I played Smash Ultimate, I was able to dodge out of the way at like the last possible second. It's something that I always felt like physically I was doing and never worked, but in Smash Ultimate I haven't had those problems. So I think that they did some very clever behind the scenes or under the dash kind of tweaking to make it easier for folks like me that don't necessarily have the sharp reflexes required to hang with the better players.
Yeah, I think you've hit on something there. I mean, we already know from the previous directs, some of the mechanical changes they have made, like making short hop aerials a lot easier to do. Now you can just jump and attack at the same time and you'll do a short hop aerial, where before you had to kind of do a light jump and then attack. So that's kind of one of those ways that they're making the game more accessible to a more casual, maybe less experienced audience. And I think that's great. It's the more people that Smash is accessible to, the better, of course, because that just grows the community. In terms of how it feels to play, it feels great. It is similar to Smash Wii U, but not so much that you feel like you're playing the same game. It's not even close. It's a little faster. Something I've noticed over and over again, and I think Andre will agree with me here, is that blast zones feel like they're further out of the stages. So
like way farther out.
Way farther. So like moves that would definitely KO you in Smash Wii U, and I would expect to KO in Smash Ultimate, didn't. And not just once, multiple times. So there would be multiple times where I would knock someone out of the stage and clear off the screen and think, oh, well, they're not coming back. And they did. And so it feels like characters are able to survive longer in general in this game, at least in terms of getting knocked into the blast zones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I think when we were playing at the event, that threw several people, myself included, for a loop. I remember having multiple instances where somebody would hit me with a smash attack and I would just be waiting to see my character pop up on the top of the screen again, and only to find out that I'm way off on the edge of the stage and still have a fighting chance of getting back. And it's good in a way, but yeah, when you, after decades of playing Smash, you kind of learn when you should just shift your focus away from the battlefield and wait for your character to respawn. And you're definitely going to have to adjust those expectations if you've been playing for a long time.
That's why I kind of like it now, because it added almost a sense of mystery. Like, you weren't quite sure what was going to happen, and it made it feel like, so when you actually did earn that KO, you felt even better for it. It's like, yeah, finally got that guy. Finally knocked him off the screen. Granted, it's something we may get used to more, and especially now that they have the little map there that shows you exactly how far you are to the actual KO zone. But I barely even noticed that thing. I don't know about you guys.
I only noticed it looking back at the footage.
Right, like, oh, exactly.
Wow, that's there. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't notice it in the moment because I was too busy, trying to play and find my character. And that's something else I wanted to mention. I've said this in previous discussions, but maybe it's just me getting older, but I do feel like I lose track of my character more often in this game than I ever have in previous Smash games. I don't know if it's Ultimate, I don't know if it's me, I don't know, but I have had multiple times now playing Ultimate where I just lose complete track of where my character is on screen for like a second or two at a time, and that is something I'm not used to, so I'm not sure where that comes from, but it's just something I've experienced, and something I continue to experience.
It's not just you.
Okay, good.
I thought it was just me. Because I kind of had that feeling. There were a couple times playing it, and this was I played it very briefly at a Nintendo Holiday Tour appointment like a month ago, but I didn't go to E3, so I haven't really played it that much until this event. And I did have trouble when I was playing 4-player Smash, kind of getting used to it, where like I'd be like, oh, there's my character. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not my character. Okay, there I am. Like, I'd have these brief flashes, and I like Ash, like, I don't know exactly if that's just me, if that's just the environment that I'm playing in. Like, maybe I need to sit at home with this, and then it will just all kind of sink in and click. But it does, I mean, it's a chaotic game, so sometimes that's going to happen. But, yeah, maybe it's just the environment that we're playing it in.
I mean, maybe, but I had the same thing at E3 too, which granted was a similar environment, so that doesn't really count at that point. But no, I mean, I've played, I went back to Smash Bros. Wii U after playing Ultimate, and I didn't have the same issue then. So I think it's for a couple of reasons. One, there's less lag when you actually get hit and go flying off, at least in 3- and 4-player matches, I think. The general pace, that combined with the pace of the game, I think it's just making it harder to keep track of the character, especially with like the giant stream of clouds that appear now when you go flying off somewhere. There's just a lot going on, and it's a lot to take in, and that's partially why I feel like I didn't get a great feel for some of the newcomers this time, just because it was hard to keep track of what exactly was happening and what impact my moves were happening on the opponents. So
yeah, I think just the nature of the event, like I really wanted to get a better handle on like Simon and Richter, Rool, Incineroar, but playing them in the event, I'd be kind of like, wait, what's the side B do? How do I use this? Exactly. What's the point of this? Like, it's the kind of thing where like I need to kind of sit in like World of Light or Spirits mode and mess around with them. That was actually, I probably got my best handle on Incineroar by playing as him in Spirit Board. Because I was able to kind of play at my own pace as opposed to being like, I need to kill the people around me because I am fighting against people that are sitting right next to me. So I need to try to assert my dominance and fail. But yeah, like it was kind of hard to get a handle for the newcomers, although Isabelle, because she has a familiarity with Villager, was really fun, especially as I started using the side B fishing rod in a trolling manner.
Nice. So this might be a good time to officially move into the newcomer discussions. I want to talk about what your thoughts are on the newcomers. Obviously, we've seen a fair amount of them now in different streams. There's been seemingly 20 different public events since the last Direct where people have gone hands-on with them. But this was our first time ourselves actually trying out most of these newcomers, aside from Ridley, Inkling, and I think that's it, actually. So yeah, what did you guys?
No, Daisy
she wasn't
playable.
playable. That's right. We only
I
saw
actually
her.
played as Daisy, and did very well. It was fun. I couldn't really tell differences between her and Peach. It's hard because even with the hours of playtime that we got, there's 74 characters.
There's a lot, yeah.
I probably over the course of the event, maybe I played as 15.
Right. That's a crazy thing. There are so many characters to go through, and I was trying to focus on the newcomers, just because you know I played most of the roster in past games, even if they do feel different in this one. But even then, I still didn't touch on them all. Like I didn't get to Dark Samus, for instance, but I think you did though, Ash, right?
Yeah, I did, and I love the way Dark Samus plays compared to Samus. Not that she's all that different, but she doesn't have that, like, the key change for me is that where Samus, her dodge is that really crappy morph ball roll. I hate that dodge. But Dark Samus has a regular dodge. She just dodges just like any other character in the game, or most other characters in the game, and that, for that reason alone, she feels way better to play than Samus, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I also love the way she floats, like, slightly off the ground and kind of glides along, and you know, she doesn't feel super different from Samus, but she feels just different enough, especially with that her dodge, that she's a lot more fun to play for me.
And that is the coolest walking animation in the whole game.
It's really good.
No, like the walking animation is really good, and I'm sad that you pointed out the dodge because I was like, I played as Dark Samus. That's the only difference I noticed.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure there are like small mechanical changes that I didn't notice because I'm not a Samus main, like, so I wouldn't necessarily recognize those changes.
Same here.
But yeah,
once again, tried Dark Samus, did not play Samus in Ultimate, so I can't contrast directly.
Exactly.
So who was your guys' favorite newcomer that you did play as? Did anyone stand out to you in particular, even if it was hard to get a full grasp on them at the event?
Hands down, Richter Belmont.
Really?
Nice.
So not Simon, but Richter.
I didn't even want to play as either Belmont brother. And again, you know, due to the nature of the event, I wanted to try all the newcomers, and so I very reluctantly tried Richter, and I fell in love with him. He is an amazing character.
I had a lot of fun playing Richter, and specifically Richter. I didn't play Simon, I played Richter, and I think he might be my favorite newcomer in Ultimate as well, at least so far. I love the range he has on his whip, but more than that, he, like, the way they control, and especially the way the sub-weapons fly, they have that Castlevania chunkiness to them, where they feel heavy, and they're supposed to, and they nail that feeling in Smash Ultimate.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And to add on to what Ash was saying, I did actually play as Simon. Simon and Richter, of course, feel very similar, but Simon is a whole lot heavier. For my taste, it puts him at a little bit of a disadvantage because I favor speed over hit stun and that kind of thing. So Richter is kind of feels a lot more mobile than Simon, and as a result, he's just easier to get around the stages with, especially when you're in a busy 4 or 8 player match.
I didn't jive with Simon as much. The time that I played as him, I kind of was like, man, he'd probably be better if he was a little faster. And then when I was like, wait a minute, Richter's supposed to be faster. So I look forward to playing as Richter when I get more hands-on time with the game.
So I have to say my favorite newcomer that I played as was King K. Rool, and that's probably because I'm heavily biased.
Yeah, right?
I just love everything about this guy. I love the thought that went into his moveset. I love just the confidence he seems to have out on the field. I just love how he feels. Like, he's got power behind his moves. When you land an attack, it feels good. And I like the amount of diversity he has within his moveset, whether it's projectile-based moves, such as with the crown or the gun, or his powerful smash attacks, or his recovery, which is good for vertical distance, not so much for horizontal. And then his counter, which again just feels great when you land that. It's like, yeah, take that, Marth. You're not the only one with the counter now. So
I like K. Rool a lot, but he's another, like all the newcomers, where I want to spend more time with him to fully get a grasp on him. I did land that counter once, and it felt so good.
Right.
His recovery is insane, and he also, like, he reminds me of DDD a little bit. I mean, they're both like similar types of villains. I mean,
they are.
DDD was even posing as him in his reveal trailer, but they just reminded me in the heaviness of both characters and the fact that they both kind of hit like a truck. But I think I might like K. Rool more than DDD. For one, that recovery is crazy, and also there's a style to K. Rool that I just really like, and I don't really terribly prefer the Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo trilogy, but I gotta respect K. Rool in his Smash Brothers appearance. as far as for me, Incineroar is a similar character that I enjoy because of his swagger. And the fact that, like, we have a wrestling Smash fighter, and it's a Pokemon who feels really distinct from other Pokemon. Like, I want to spend more time with Incineroar to learn his ins and outs, like how he's got the one special attack where he throws a character against the ropes and then comes back, and then there's like some timing that you can do, and you can do a different move depending on the timing. I didn't really get a firm grasp on that, but I want to learn more about how to play as Incineroar.
That's the one where he throws you against the ropes, right?
Yeah.
That might be one of the key reasons why I had no idea where my character was some of the time. Because once I get hit by that move, I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going now.
I will say that I also got to play as Incineroar, and I'll say that landing that side B with the correct timing so he does the clothesline move is incredibly satisfying. And I'll just say Incineroar in general was a lot more fun to play than I was expecting. I have no affinity for this character whatsoever. I love Pokemon, but I don't really care about Incineroar. I don't really like his design, and I figured, whatever, he's here. I'm happy for his fans, but not my thing. Then I played as him, and I'm not saying I'm going to become an Incineroar main, but he's a lot of fun to play as, and I'm definitely going to keep going back to him as part of my regular rotation. And that side B, man, when you land that timing, it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Incineroar really is all about risk versus rewards. All of his moves carry an inherent risk of messing your game up. His up B, if you hit that wrong, you're going off the stage. If you get the timing wrong on the move where you throw him into the ropes, if you don't do the follow-up tack correctly, you end up stunning yourself. So he's a highly technical character, and I do like the fact. I didn't really click with him until I played with him in Spirit Board, and I was fighting just an army of small Yoshis, and there is something incredibly satisfying about clotheslining Yoshi off the stage, and then seeing Incineroar just like throw up a taunt on his own. It felt good. One thing I wanted to touch on, because I noticed we're not talking at all about Final Smashes for these newcomers, and I'm kind of glad that we went from Rool to Incineroar, because I think the two of them have absolutely the best Final Smashes out of all the newcomers.
Heck yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Rool's is ridiculous. It is patently ridiculous, and I love it.
Where he just blows up an entire island from DK64.
Yeah. Just throws his enemies in an island and nukes it. Like, it is. I thought until that point that Incineroar had the most like crazy, insane, over the top Final Smash, teleporting people into a ring and laying the smackdown on him, but Rool I think has him beat.
One of the best matches I think I played in was we had it was multiple King K. Rools, and we had the Final Smash after Final Smash after Final Smash. We destroyed like the entire ecosystem with all of them, and it was amazing.
There's a Donkey Kong planet just in ruins after that match.
Pretty much.
I believe, Andre, that I was in that match with you, and you and I were both Rool in that match.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was awesome.
I just want to say in general, outside of Isabelle, who is a character that I really like playing as Villager in the last game, so Isabelle's just kind of like a new tweak on Villager, and I'm really excited for that. But aside from her and all the Echo Fighters, all of the newcomers are really interesting and unique. Like, Ridley, Rool, Incineroar, the Belmonts, like, they just feel very different from every pre-existing Smash Brothers character. And that, combined with what we've seen of Piranha Plant already, just makes me giddy to see what they're going to come up with in DLC.
Did anyone else play as Isabelle real quick, by the way? I don't think I got a chance to, but I did see a lot of her in action, and I just love her recovery, where she's floating around on the bench supported by balloons.
Yes.
I love Isabelle in general. I just whatever match she's in, I just like rooting for her because she's so damn cute, and it's just funny to see her here. I didn't personally get to play as her. I don't expect to be great with her because I'm not very good with Villager, but I love that she's here, and it's so fun watching people play her well.
While I do love laying the wood with the tree down B of Villager, there is something beautiful about setting down a gyroid landmine, having some unsuspecting sap go over it, and then just having the gyroid go up vertically and blow up.
It's great.
It's just so good.
It's a move that reminds me more of Snake than Animal Crossing character.
Yeah, but like that's
it really does.
It's that kind of thing that the more I used it, the more I'm like, this is incredible. Like, they basically made Isabelle Snake with her down B.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Isabelle at the event, and I am by no means good with her, but I did really enjoy what little time I spent playing as her. I think it was Ash was saying her up B is just awesome. I didn't know about the down B with the gyroid. I was wiped out pretty quick, but one of my favorite things about her, because I saw a few other people playing as her, is and when she knocks someone out in a, like, I don't know what the criteria are, if it's, but when you land a decisive blow on someone that is definitely knocking them out of the ring, the camera goes real tight on that hit. And every time I saw that happen with Isabelle, she always had just the most, like, mortified expression on her face that she was hitting someone, and it was such a perfect moment for her character. I just I could see myself wanting to learn her, but she's definitely one of the more complex fighters.
That actually, you mentioning the whole, like, how it goes in tight, it does seem like there's certain points of the battles where it does that, but I kind of love how the fight that will decide a battle, they zoom in tight. I love that because, one, those kind of snapshots are glorious, and two, it really does, like, drive home a tense moment. And I did have moments where I'm like, oh, surely I knocked them off the edge, and I'm like, oh no, they're not gone yet. That wasn't decisive enough.
I am so glad you brought that up, because I didn't have a chance to do too many one-on-ones, which is why it probably wasn't too much in my memory. But when I did, those moments felt great. Like, I love the presentation in general of the one-on-one matches. I love the point score that appears on the screen. I think it does in all the modes, maybe. But I love the zoom-ins, as you mentioned, the feel, the slow down, and you land a powerful attack. It adds so much to it. Like, it's a small thing, but it really makes it feel more dynamic and just more satisfying in general.
Those impacts have such weight to them.
Exactly.
The way you just feel like you smacked them. And just, I mean, especially when you're playing in a highly contested match with a friend that, and you guys have been talking smack to each other, and you land that hit on them, it's gonna feel good.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought this up too, because it really there are a lot of tiny little quality of life tweaks that have been made to the presentation that you may not notice, if you're in general, but if you really look for them, they really have done a lot of nips and tucks behind the scenes. Like, one of you was saying how the score when you're playing a stock match, when someone gets KO'd, the score pops onto the screen really quick to let you know who's ahead and how many stocks everyone has left, which is really cool. Another thing that I really love, it's a small thing, but the final smashes are preceded by these character cut-ins, where you got the little it's
face.
literally a cut-in with their face, and it kind of reminds me of Persona. Like, the Persona battles do that as well, and I love that. It's like little things like that add to the visual presentation. That it's not something as broad as better graphics or better performance, something like that, but just little quality of life updates that really make the overall presentation a lot better.
How can that be, Ash, when it's just a port? I don't understand.
I know, it's true.
Oh, man, no, why? When we were having such a good time, why'd you have to bring that up?
I'm sorry. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on real quick. So speaking of just general great-looking things in the game, that brings us again back to the final smashes. Now, I don't want to talk too much about them themselves. However, something that is new to the game that we had a chance to try out, or at least I did, is the final smash meter, which is where you can build up a meter, much like a super meter in other fighting games, which then lets you unleash your final smash the moment you charge it up, or whenever you want to after charging it up. What did you guys think of this? I was excited when I first heard about it, and I kind of love how it works here. Even if I know some people are already pointing out that they're not balanced at all, I don't care. I had fun with it.
Yeah. If you want it balanced, you can turn off final smashes or just have the balls. Or you can do the meters where it's just chaos. Chaos just raining down everywhere. Everybody's glowing. It's like the Sneeches from Dr. Seuss, where one dude's got the final smash, one dude's got a star on his belly. In the final smash meter version, everybody's got a star on their belly. It's great.
Yeah, the final smash meter is pretty cool. I think it's a smart addition in terms of just switching things up for people who want to do that. I do feel like the meters maybe fill a little bit too fast. I could maybe stand for them to tweak it a little bit just so they're a little slower to fill. But that's also the point. The point is utter chaos, and no one's saying that the final smash meter is going to be used in serious competitive play or anything like that. Personally, I think that'd be pretty funny to watch, but it is utter absolute chaos, and they do fill very often. And I will say that I do have a bit of a problem that they weren't that more thought didn't go into the balancing. Not that this has to be perfectly balanced, but I don't like how, these final smashes, when you use the meter, they're supposed to be weaker. And for most characters, they are. But for certain characters, like Marth and Lucina, who have those instant kill, critical hit final smashes, they don't feel not that much weaker. They still kill at really low percentages. So it doesn't feel like every character benefits from the final smash meter equally. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly balanced, but I do kind of wish that a little more thought had gone into, weakening some of the instant kill final smashes, again, like Marth, Lucina, Roy, etc.
Right.
Right.
Maybe they're just taking a page from PlayStation Battle All-Stars, where they were totally imbalanced.
That's a good point.
You people played that?
a person played it, at least.
Oh,
I played it at a PAX in the free play room and was baffled by it. That's it. That's all I got to say on it.
That's a right reaction.
Going back to the final smash meter, I have to say that I completely agree with Andre. It is probably my favorite change that they've made to Smash, and I don't see myself ever playing without it.
Wow.
It is just... I feel like in standard Smash matches, final smashes are just so incredibly rare. You don't get to see them enough, and they're these awesome, over-the-top, crazy moves. And I always played items on, Smash Ball on, but I always felt like, it's always just, like Neal was saying, one person tends to be the good one at tracking down the Smash Ball in every match. So for me to kind of spread that love around and let everybody have an equal opportunity to throw out some ridiculous move, whether it's balanced or not, it just adds so much more than I thought it would. Yeah. And I just really love it. I love that sense of chaos, because now it's suddenly like you're not just looking for items, you have to worry when someone starts glowing and you have to get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, Smash Brothers works best when it's organized chaos, to me.
Exactly,
I understand
right.
that some people like to turn off the items and you do your own thing, but for me, I just love it when it's anything can happen, it's weird and wacky and wild.
Yeah, I'm one who also likes items, but let's be real here for a second. The final Smash Ball kind of sucks. It's always kind of sucked. It still kind of sucks. It never feels that satisfying to get, because it never feels like you really earned it. It always just feels like it breaks kind of arbitrarily. Although you mentioned that some people and some characters are just inherently better at getting to it. So that's why, as Steve was saying, the final Smash meter just feels better. Like it makes the final smashes just more viable for people like me, I think. Who often would turn off the final Smash Ball just because it's annoying to play with.
That's kind of what I love about it, though. I guess I'll be the lone holdout here and say that I love the Smash Ball. I always have. I still do. I still will play with it on in Smash Ultimate. Some of my funniest moments playing Smash with friends has come from the Smash Ball trolling us and us trying to get it and all of us failing, and then it's just leaving the stage like, well, bye. I gave you so many chances to get me, and you all failed, so not happening. And I do appreciate that the final Smash meter is an alternative, and I'll certainly use that as well from time to time, but I guess I'm the lone holdout here. I still really like Smash Balls, and I'll still continue to play with them.
Sorry.
I know. I heard it as I said it as well. Yeah, I heard it.
All right. Now, there is another mode in the game that we had a chance to try out that hasn't been talked about a whole ton, I feel like, and that's Stage Morphing, where basically you can choose any two stages you want, and as you're playing, the match the game will actually dynamically switch between those two maps. And you can even change the frequency it happens at, whether on a set schedule based on time or randomly, in which it'll just kind of throw it up there whenever it feels like it. And there were times where I feel like I was only on one of those stages for maybe 15 seconds before I swapped back to the other one. I love this mode. I think it's so cool. It takes kind of like the idea that they had for, again, PlayStation Battle All-Stars, where they mix different IPs into a single stage, but executes it better, because I like being contained to a single environment, like a single cohesive environment, but I like now that it's multiple cohesive environments. It's such a cool idea that keeps you on your toes throughout the match.
It's one of my favorite additions to the game. I'm right there with you, Andre. I love Stage Morph. I didn't know prior to this event that you could set the frequency of the morphing. I think that's really cool as well. And, this is just one of those examples. Leave it to Sakurai to, give me something I never knew I wanted. This is something I'd never even thought about. Right. And then he's like, hey, Stage Morph, you can have two stages now. And I'm like, how did I ever live without this? This is awesome. So I'm right there with you, Andre. I think this is a great addition, and it's just as cool in practice as it is when you're watching it in the direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Andre, you and I played a significant number of matches with Stage Morph on at the event, and I found myself developing this kind of compulsive need to make sure both stages made sense. If Luigi's Mansion was one of the stages, I wanted Castlevania to be the other stage.
Nice.
If we were playing on Mute City, I wanted another like pixel art stage to go along with it. So it was really cool to kind of and like Ash said, if you had told me about this, or if I had known about it before, I would have just shrugged it off as being some unnecessary fluff. But it definitely feels like exactly what this game needs to just take the craziness up another level.
Like, I love the idea too. Like, as you were touching on, you can kind of create these themes almost, or even maybe counterproductive themes in a way. Like, I'm picturing you could have like a totally hardcore half with Final Destination, then go to the most chaotic stage possible for the other, being like, say, Big Blue or something. So you go from like super hardcore action to more casual action. That could be just a really fun.
On.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It just seems like a great way to mess with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it also takes advantage of the fact that this game has 103 stages. I mean, God, that's a huge stage roster. And the fact that you can now pick 2 per match if you want to, I think just it helps you see more of the stage roster and experience it more often.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and I hate to be the person that's like, oh, technically it's 300 stages, but you can choose in Omega mode or a different stage mode as part of Stage Morph as well. You can go from like a normal one to a big battlefield or whatever different variation of that stage you want to look at.
Good point. Yeah, so that's a lot of combinations.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to try Neal at all?
Actually, only a Luigi's Mansion, Dracula's Castle round with Steve.
Nice.
That was one of the. I think
it's a
I tried it.
compulsion.
I tried it on a couple other ones, and I want to say I think there was one with Pokemon Stadium. It might have been Pokemon Stadium and the wrestling ring.
If it were Pokemon Stadium 2, would you even be able to tell the difference?
Yeah, no, like that's what was weird about it, is that like Pokemon Stadium would change and then it would change. But I didn't play. I didn't play as many with Stage Morphing, but it is something that I'm interested in pursuing more. Because I do like the idea, and I like how it was born out of like, we're gonna have 100 stages. How are people gonna see these? Let's have it so you can do 2 at a time.
It's a really good idea. Now, one more thing at the event that I want to bring up real quick is the fact that at every station, we were all forced to play with the Pro Controller. Just like at E3. Now, I wasn't a huge fan. I love the Pro Controller for Switch, but I wasn't a huge fan of it with how it felt at E3 with Smash. And after 4 hours with it, I'm still not a huge fan of how it feels with Smash. I was just curious if I'm alone on that, or if you also feel similarly. Because I know for me, when I get this copy myself, whenever that may be, I'm going to be playing exclusively with the GameCube controller. But I don't know how you guys feel.
100% agree with you, and I won't even be as nice to say I'm not the biggest fan of it. I hate it. I hate the Pro Controller for Smash. Man. I do. I just don't like it. I love the Pro Controller. Let me make that clear. It's a fantastic controller for the Switch, and I love it for like every other game almost. But for Smash, I absolutely hate it, and I fully admit that that's because I am a GameCube controller snob. And just like you, Andre, I will not be playing this game with anything other than the GameCube controller when I get it.
I love that. I just love the fiery passion that came out of you over this.
Wow.
It's true. I just really don't like the Pro Controller for Smash. It doesn't feel right to me.
No, it doesn't.
I'll agree that like GameCube's my preferred way to go, but I'm just very adaptable. So like it's fine.
Yeah, I kind of fall more into Neal's way of thinking on this one. I do prefer the GameCube controller, but I think it's the best controller ever made, so I prefer it for literally everything. But the Pro
Wait, are we
controller
all like GameCube controller truthers? I knew I liked you guys.
Yeah, it's an amazing controller. What can I say? I'm playing with a bootleg one on my Switch right now, but
Nice.
I do have a few. I'm gonna be the first to admit that when it comes to sitting down on my couch and playing alone, I'm probably gonna play on a Pro controller, and that's because as much as I love my GameCube controllers, I hate wires even more. And
Yeah.
Get away, bird.
until Nintendo gives me a proper wireless GameCube controller, I am probably going to be more prone to grab the Pro controller sitting next to my couch than to drag out the USB setup and run a wire across my living room.
Why can't they just make it Bluetooth Wavebird? Is that so
make
difficult?
new Wavebirds.
Right. So yeah, that's one of my small concerns with the game is just being stuck at any point at someone's house who doesn't have a GameCube controller. That's my greatest fear. But do you guys have any other at all concerns for this game based on the playtime we've had with it so far?
How does it play in handheld?
There we go. All right, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a big question. Like, how does it play in handheld?
Because I mean, talking about control methods, I will probably play a lot of this game handheld. So like, how does that feel? Is that going to be fine? Is it going to be cramped? Like, I thought the 3DS version for what it was. I mean, still a 3DS version of Smash Brothers is kind of a small miracle. I played a lot more of that than I played Wii U, just because of how it fit into my life. I hope that this plays well in handheld, but we have no knowledge right now.
So I wouldn't say I'm concerned about how it plays in handheld, and that's only because of the fact that it plays so incredibly well docked, and it's really rare that a game plays well in TV mode and then performs poorly in handheld mode. It's usually the other way around.
True.
But my main concern is that we don't know enough about online and tournament mode. And, Splatoon has shown us that Nintendo can put together some really great modes for organizing online tournaments within their games, but I don't think we have enough info about that for Smash yet, and that's something that I'm deeply interested in finding out more about.
Honestly, if it's going to be P2P, it's probably gonna be bad.
Yeah, Sakurai already provided some comments along those lines recently with the Famitsu, where it sounded very much like how the Wii U's online worked, only now with better matchmaking. So
with which the Wii U had its moments, but I pretty consistently, especially as time wore on with that game, and I guess maybe it was harder to find matches. That lag gets real bad.
So, I guess that's two factors working for it. One, it sounds like they have better matchmaking this time, and two, there are actually people that own Switches. So that's a pretty big player base increase.
Yeah. Steve, I agree with you. That is my main concern, is the online. I have this just inkling, no pun intended, that it's not going to deliver the way people want it to. I think it's going to be pretty good most of the time, but I just have this feeling that it's not going to be that true, definitive online Smash experience that we all have been wanting since Brawl, and that fans have been wanting since Brawl, just in general. Like, I just get that feeling from what Sakurai has said. I'm tempering my expectations for online, and I think that if Smash Ultimate does come up short in any area, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, the problem is, like, the online may be pretty good, but pretty good's not good enough when it comes to fighting games and Smash Brothers. So if it's anything less than near perfect, I'm going to have no interest in it. So, I'll just stick to local play in that case. Anyways, I guess we're about at the end of the discussion. Clearly, we've had a lot of kind things to say about the game so far. But did you guys have any other final thoughts or any points you wanted to bring up about Smash Bros. Ultimate that we maybe haven't touched on yet, or they just want to reiterate? So, what are your final impressions of Ultimate?
Oh, I do have one thing that I wanted to bring up that we haven't touched on yet. And that is the fact that you can hold smash attacks now forever.
Good point.
That's such a random, bizarre change. But yeah, like before you could hold smash attacks for a little bit, but now you can hold them for way longer. And I don't know what purpose that serves. I mean, if you're at a high enough level, most people aren't going to walk into a smash attack that you've been charging for 15 seconds. but it's still it's kind of a cool thing. It's neat. I don't know why they did it, but yeah. So you can now charge smash attacks for much longer than you could before.
I noticed that right away, and I kind of love that addition. Even if, as you mentioned, I don't know how important it really is, but it just felt good to be able to sit there and charge it for 10 seconds if I want to. Yeah. Especially if you can land it after that point.
Exactly.
I think my kind of final thought is that, like, they named the game Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and they didn't lie.
That's a great point.
This seems like it is the ultimate Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, like, obviously, we're not reviewing it now. Our impressions could possibly change, but I'm right there with you right now, Neal. Like, based on what we played, how much there is in this game, like, there's so much here that even with the 4 hours, we barely touched on even a small portion of the content. and it all plays extremely well. Like everything we saw just felt really well thought out, which is way more than I can say about most of the modes in past Smash Brothers games, especially Smash Brothers Wii U. So
Smash Tour,
freaking Smash Tour.
I guess my final takeaway from Smash is that it's the only game we can say is objectively the best Smash game in a certain way. We have objectively the best roster we've ever had because everyone is here plus some new folks. Every other Smash title we've never been able to say any one point about it is objectively better before even having it in our own hands to review. I'm honestly ridiculously hyped, and that's as somebody who doesn't really get on the hype train for Smash that often. The new characters that I've seen, as someone mentioned earlier in the discussion, are all just unique and exciting and interesting in ways that previous newcomers just weren't. Like I was saying earlier, Spirit Board I can see just eating up tons of my time. I think Spirits are one of the most interesting new additions to Smash. Mechanically, this is just so much more smooth of a game, and we have the final Smash meter just is something that I didn't even know the game needed until I actually tried it. And it's to me, this is truly, as I believe Ash said before, the ultimate version of Smash. Or if you want to go with the Japanese version, this is a very special Smash game.
Well said. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more at this point. So
yeah.
And with that, I think that brings us to the end of our Super Smash Bros. Ultimate discussion. So thank you guys so much for joining us, both Steve and Neal, for giving us your insight into the game. And speaking of which, where can people find you guys at? Neal, where should people look you up if they want to read more from you?
You can go over to NintendoWorldReport.com, where I am the owner and reviews editor. I do a lot of stuff with, reviews, probably Smash Brothers. You can also check us out over on YouTube at Nintendo World Report TV, where we've been doing a lot of video reviews and more content like that as well. So check it out. We like having people watching, read our stuff.
How about you, Steve?
If you're a longtime viewer, you probably know where I hang out usually, but if you're new, hi. You can catch me at nintendolife.com. If you're watching this video the day it comes out, then we have our own Smash preview content available on the site right now for you to check out as well, including some videos and a written preview by yours truly. Beyond that, catch me on Twitter, Steve M. Bowling, and share your... tell me how bad my opinions are.
I mean, I'll do that too, so...
Get ready to write the comment.
And you guys can find links to all that in the description below, including my ragging on Steve's opinions. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, including lots of gameplay videos. I'm sure tons of other features I can't even think of at this point, and everything else Nintendo Switch as well. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.